If you enjoy my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps my channel grow and I will make more good videos for you. Alyssa sat on the edge of the old wooden bench in the quiet park, her hands trembling slightly as she stared at the faded photo in her palm. The sky was a dull gray, and a cold breeze swept through the empty streets around her. She felt hollow inside, like the weight of the world pressed heavily on her chest. Just hours ago, everything had fallen apart. Ethan, the man she loved, had walked away without a word, leaving her shattered and confused. For months, Alyssa had believed their love was unbreakable. They had shared laughter, whispered dreams, and late-night talks that made the world fade away. Ethan had promised her a future filled with hope and happiness. But tonight, that promise was broken like fragile glass. It had started as a normal evening. They sat together at their favorite cafe, sipping coffee and sharing stories. Alyssa thought he seemed distant, but she told herself it was just stress from work. Then, without warning, Ethan's eyes darkened and he stood up abruptly. "I can't do this anymore, Alyssa," he said, voice cold and distant. "I'm leaving. Don't try to stop me." Her heart pounded in disbelief. "Why?" "Please, Ethan, tell me what's wrong," she pleaded, tears threatening to fall. He shook his head and walked away before she could say another word. She watched his figure disappear into the night, leaving her alone with a pain she had never felt before. Alyssa's mind raced as she tried to understand what had gone wrong. Had she done something to push him away? Was there someone else? But no answers came, only silence. She felt lost in a storm of emotions, anger, sadness, and deep confusion. That night, she cried alone in their empty apartment. The walls seemed to close in on her as memories flooded back. His smile, the way he held her hand, the promises whispered in the dark. Each memory cut deeper than the last. Days passed, but the ache inside her did not fade. Friends tried to comfort her, but their words felt empty. She stopped answering calls and messages, retreating into herself. The world outside continued moving, but Alyssa remained frozen in that moment of heartbreak. One evening, she stood in front of the mirror, tracing the lines of her face with tired fingers. She barely recognized the woman looking back, eyes red from sleepless nights, lips trembling with pain. She wished she could erase the hurt, forget the man who had once been her everything. Despite the darkness, a small part of Alyssa refused to give up. She knew she had to find a way to heal, to move forward even if it seemed impossible now. But first, she needed answers, and perhaps a chance to confront Ethan. Her journey had only just begun. Alyssa's world had shattered, and the small town she once called home suddenly felt too tight, too full of memories she wanted to forget. Days after Ethan left without a word, she packed a small bag and disappeared. No one saw her leave. No goodbyes, no explanations. Just an empty apartment and a trail of unanswered questions. Town buzzed with whispers. Where had Alyssa gone? Had she run away? Or something worse? People who once smiled at her now looked away, nervous and confused. Friends tried to call and visit, but the door stayed locked. Her phone went straight to voicemail. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Ethan heard the rumors, too. Each whisper cut him like a knife, guilt washing over him every time he thought of her alone and scared. But he stayed silent, afraid to face the truth or answer the growing questions around town. He couldn't explain why he left, and now Alyssa's absence haunted him more than anything. Neighbors noticed her mailbox overflowing, the newspapers piling up, and the flicker of light in her window gone. Cozy house that once held laughter and love now stood cold and empty. Everyone wondered if Alyssa was safe, if she was coming back. The days turned into weeks. Search parties were whispered about, but no one organized them. Alyssa's closest friend, Sarah, refused to give up. She went to the police and begged them to look harder, to find Alyssa and bring her home. But without any clues, it was like chasing shadows. Ethan watched from afar, torn between wanting to help and fearing what he might discover. Each night, he stared at his phone, wishing for a message or call that never came. The silence was louder than any words could be. The town's stories grew darker. Some said Alyssa had been taken, others whispered she was hiding from something dangerous. But no one knew the truth. Meanwhile, Alyssa wandered far from the town through empty streets and unfamiliar places. She kept moving, unsure where to go, unsure what to do. The pain of her broken heart was heavy, but the mystery of her disappearance was just beginning. Her story was not over. It had only taken a new, darker turn. Alyssa's disappearance shook everyone who cared about her. But no one felt the weight of her absence more than her younger brother Liam. From the moment he learned that Alyssa was gone, he refused to believe she had left on her own. Something felt wrong deep inside him. Alyssa would never just vanish without telling anyone. Liam sat in their old family home, staring at her empty bedroom. The walls still held the faint scent of her perfume, and her clothes were folded neatly in the closet. It was as if she had stepped out for a moment and never returned. He clenched his fists, determined to find her no matter what it took. He began by going through Alyssa's belongings. In her desk drawer, he found her diary. Pages were filled with her thoughts and feelings from the last few months. Liam read each entry carefully, hoping for clues. Some pages spoke of her love for Ethan, but others hinted at fear and confusion. She wrote about feeling watched and strange noises late at night. A few entries were smudged, as if written in a hurry or tears. One page caught his attention. Alyssa had written about receiving strange messages on her phone, texts from unknown numbers that said things like, "You can't hide," and "She's coming for you." Liam's heart raced. Who was sending those messages? And who was she? Determined to find answers, Liam called Alyssa's closest friends. Many hadn't heard from her in days, just like the rest of the town. But one friend, Sarah, remembered Alyssa mentioning a strange woman she had seen near the house. Sarah said the woman's eyes were cold and empty, and she always disappeared when Alyssa tried to approach. Liam felt a chill. He wondered if this mysterious woman had anything to do with Alyssa's sudden disappearance. He visited the cafe where Alyssa used to work. The owner remembered Alyssa well and told Liam that she had seemed distracted lately, often staring at the old mirror in the dressing room. "She said it was watching her," the owner added nervously. Liam frowned. What mirror? Was it just her imagination or something more? Next, Liam searched the family's old Victorian house where Alyssa had been living. The house was quiet and dusty, with shadows filling the corners. In Alyssa's bedroom, the large antique mirror stood untouched. Liam looked closely but saw only his own reflection. Yet something about the mirror unsettled him. He noticed a small piece of paper taped to the back of the mirror's frame. Carefully, he peeled it off. It read, "Find me before she does." The message was written in shaky handwriting, as if someone was scared. Liam's mind raced. Was Alyssa in danger? Was someone or something chasing her? He reached out to the local police, sharing everything he had found. But they said without more evidence, there was little they could do. Frustrated, Liam knew he had to keep searching on his own. That night, Liam returned to the house and sat before the mirror, trying to make sense of the strange message. As he stared into the glass, a faint whisper echoed in the room. "Help me!" He jumped up, his heart pounding. Was it his imagination? Or was Alyssa really trying to reach him? From that moment on, Liam vowed to uncover the truth behind the strange signs and find his sister, no matter what darkness awaited him. Alyssa's disappearance had left a deep wound in the hearts of those who cared about her. Among them, her younger brother Liam was the most determined to find the truth. He refused to accept that she was gone without a reason. Every day since she vanished, Liam searched tirelessly for any clue, any sign that could lead him to her. But the more he searched, the darker the story seemed to become. One rainy afternoon, Liam returned to the old Victorian house that Alyssa had called home. The house was silent except for the sound of rain tapping against the windows. Dust covered the furniture, and the air smelled of old wood and forgotten memories. Liam stepped carefully through the rooms, feeling as if the house itself was holding secrets it didn't want to share. In Alyssa's bedroom, Liam found the desk where she used to write. He opened the top drawer and discovered a small, leather-bound diary hidden beneath some papers. His heart beat faster. This could be the key to understanding what had happened to his sister. He sat down on the creaky bed and carefully opened the diary. The pages were filled with Alyssa's neat handwriting, describing her days, her feelings, and her fears. First, the entries were full of hope and love, memories of happy times with Ethan. But as Liam read further, he noticed a change in her tone, a growing fear, confusion, and sadness. One entry caught his eye. Alyssa wrote about Ethan acting strange, distant, and sometimes angry without explanation. She mentioned that he had secrets he didn't want to share. Liam's stomach tightened. He had always hoped Ethan was good to his sister, but now doubts began to creep in. Another entry was more chilling. Alyssa described feeling watched by an unknown presence in the house. She wrote about hearing whispers when she was alone, and about the old mirror that seemed to show things she couldn't understand. She was scared but didn't tell anyone, afraid they wouldn't believe her. Liam's hands trembled as he read the words. What was happening to Alyssa? Who or what was behind her fear? He turned the page and found a torn photo taped inside the diary. It showed Alyssa and Ethan smiling, but behind them in the shadows was a dark figure, barely visible. Liam's heart pounded. Was this the sinister force Alyssa feared? Was it a person or something else? As he read more, Alyssa's entries became fragmented. She wrote about finding strange symbols carved into the wood of the house, about cold spots where the air felt heavy, and about a woman with dark eyes who appeared in her dreams. This woman seemed to follow her everywhere, always watching, always waiting. Liam closed the diary and looked around the room, feeling a chill. The house no longer felt like a home, it felt like a trap. Determined to find answers, Liam went to the town library and searched old newspapers for any mention of strange events linked to the house or its previous owners. He discovered stories of disappearances, mysterious accidents, and rumors about a curse connected to the mirror. The more Liam learned, the clearer it became that Alyssa was caught in something far bigger and darker than anyone had imagined. Her disappearance was not just the result of a broken heart, it was the beginning of a battle against a hidden evil. That night, as Liam lay in bed, he thought about Alyssa's last words in her diary. If I disappear, know that I am not gone by choice. Something is coming for me, and I don't know if I can fight it alone. Liam promised himself he would not let his sister face this darkness alone. He would uncover the secrets Ethan hid and confront whatever force threatened Alyssa. Truth was waiting to be revealed, and Liam was ready to face it, no matter the cost. Alyssa came back one cold evening, the sky painted with shades of gray and the wind whispering through the bare trees. No one had expected her to return, least of all Ethan. When she stepped out of the shadows onto the cracked sidewalk, her face was pale and her eyes held a strange, distant look. She wasn't the same girl who had disappeared weeks ago. Something had changed. Ethan stood frozen, unable to speak as he watched her approach. The woman he once loved now seemed like a stranger. Her movements were slow, as if she was tired beyond words. Her eyes, once bright and full of life, now seemed hollow and searching for something he couldn't understand. "Alyssa," he finally whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. "Where have you been? What happened to you?" She didn't answer at once. Instead, she looked past him, as if her thoughts were somewhere else entirely. Through a long pause, she spoke in a soft, broken voice. I don't remember everything. It's like parts of me are missing." Ethan stepped closer, reaching out his hand, but she flinched, pulling away slightly. Trust between them was fragile, shattered by months of silence and unanswered questions. He felt the distance growing, like an invisible wall between them. "I was so scared," Alyssa said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Something took me. It's hard to explain. It's like I was trapped in a place where time didn't move and I couldn't escape." Ethan listened carefully, trying to understand. He wanted to believe her, but the pain of betrayal still lingered deep inside him. "Why didn't you call? Why didn't you reach out?" he asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. Alyssa's eyes filled with tears. "I wanted to, but every time I tried, it was like something stopped me. I was alone. I was scared and confused." Their reunion was filled with silence and small, careful steps. Ethan wanted to hold her, to protect her, but he knew Alyssa needed time. She needed to find herself again after what she had been through. Over the next days, Alyssa revealed bits and pieces of her experience. She spoke of dark rooms, strange whispers, and shadows that moved without a source. She told Ethan about the cold mirror in the house and how it seemed to watch her every move. But each time she tried to explain more, her memory faltered and frustration filled her eyes. Ethan saw the pain behind her words. She wasn't the same Alyssa he had known. The mystery of her disappearance and return had changed her, and he feared they might never fully understand what had happened. Trust was fragile, but Ethan was determined to help her heal. He stayed by her side, patient and quiet, hoping that together they could find a way to move past the darkness and rebuild what had been broken. Yet, in the quiet moments when Alyssa thought no one was watching, her eyes would wander to the mirror in the bedroom, a mirror that seemed to hold secrets neither of them could face yet. And sometimes, late at night, Ethan would catch her whispering words that didn't belong to her, words that hinted at something still lurking just beyond their reach. Alyssa sat quietly in the small, dimly lit room of the old Victorian house she had returned to, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a faded photograph. The edges were worn, and the picture showed a younger Ethan smiling beside her, a time before everything had fallen apart. Pain of those memories pressed down on her, heavy and sharp. But beneath the pain was a burning need to understand the truth, the real reason why she had disappeared for so long. For weeks, Alyssa had struggled with broken pieces of memories, fragments that came to her like whispers in the dark. She had tried to push them away, fearing what they might reveal. But now, with Ethan by her side, she felt ready to face whatever secrets had been hidden from her. It began with a letter she found tucked inside the diary she had left behind. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the message was clear: trust no one. The mirror hides more than reflections. Alyssa's heart skipped a beat. The mirror, the same mirror she had feared, was connected to her disappearance in ways she hadn't imagined. She remembered the nights when the glass had seemed to move on its own, the times she had seen shadows flicker behind the reflection. It wasn't just her mind playing tricks. Something was real. Something dangerous. Ethan had noticed her growing obsession with the mirror. First, he was patient, but soon his face grew tense whenever she brought it up. One evening, unable to contain her questions, Alyssa confronted him. "Ethan, please tell me the truth," she pleaded, her eyes searching his. "What do you know about the mirror? About what happened to me?" He sighed deeply, the weight of guilt heavy in his expression. "There's something I should have told you long ago," he began. "It's about Elena." Alyssa's breath caught. She had heard the name before, whispers from old town tales, stories Ethan never wanted to explain. Now the pieces began to fall into place. "Elena was someone I loved before you," Ethan said quietly. "But she wasn't like anyone you've ever met. She was obsessed with something dark, something that involved that mirror." He told Alyssa about how Elena had used the mirror in rituals, hoping to escape death and live forever. The mirror was not just glass, it was a gateway. Elena's soul had been trapped inside it, and she needed a new body to be free again. Ethan had left because he was afraid of what Elena might do. Alyssa listened, her heart pounding. The bruises she had found on her arms, the strange dreams, the cold feeling in the house, they all made sense now. Elena had been trying to take over her body, to come back to life through her. The truth was terrifying, but it also explained everything: the betrayal, the danger, the silence. With Ethan's help, Alyssa decided she had to face Elena and the mirror. She needed to end the nightmare once and for all. Together, they gathered old books and searched for ways to break the curse. The town's history held clues, rituals to seal spirits and protect the living. One stormy night, they stood before the mirror, lightning flashing outside and thunder shaking the walls. Alyssa's voice was steady, despite the fear swirling inside her. "Elena, I know what you want," she said firmly. "But I won't let you take me." For a moment, the glass shimmered and a dark figure appeared, a twisted, angry face staring back at them. Elena's voice echoed in the room, promising power and freedom in exchange for Alyssa's soul. But Alyssa stood strong, repeating the protective words they had found. The mirror cracked, splintering like ice under pressure, and with a final scream, the dark presence vanished. The house grew quiet. Ethan took Alyssa's hand, relief washing over him. The truth had come out, and though the scars remained, Alyssa was free. But even as they left the house, Alyssa glanced back at the broken mirror shards on the floor. Somewhere inside, she wondered if Elena's shadow might still linger, waiting for another chance. Alyssa stood by the window of the small room she now called home, looking out at the quiet town wrapped in the soft light of dawn. The world outside seemed peaceful, but inside her, a storm was still raging. Everything she had been through, the pain, the fear, the betrayal, had left deep marks on her heart and soul. She knew the hardest part was still ahead, deciding what to do next. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, watching her with a mixture of hope and worry. He wanted to reach out, to hold her close and tell her everything would be okay. But he also knew that after all the secrets and shadows, trust was fragile. He didn't want to rush her or force her into a choice she wasn't ready to make. For days, Alyssa thought about the path before her. Could she forgive Ethan for leaving her? Could she find peace within herself after the darkness she had faced? Or was it time to stand strong, to seek justice for the pain she had endured, and to make sure that no one else would suffer as she had? The memories of Elena and the mirror haunted her. The way the dark presence had tried to take over her life was a reminder of how easily trust could be broken. But she also remembered Ethan's courage in returning, in fighting alongside her against the evil that had threatened to destroy everything. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned a deep orange, Alyssa finally spoke. "Ethan, I don't know if I can forget everything. But maybe we can try to heal." Ethan's eyes softened. "I'm here, Alyssa. Whatever you decide, I'll be by your side." They began slowly, rebuilding their lives piece by piece. Alyssa worked on forgiving not just Ethan but herself too. She learned to let go of the fear that had held her captive and to believe again in the possibility of happiness. Together, they faced the future with cautious hope. But deep inside, a part of Alyssa still burned with the need for justice. She couldn't forget the pain or the darkness that had almost consumed her. So she started helping others in the town who had suffered in silence, those trapped by their own fears or by secrets hidden behind closed doors. Alyssa became a light in the darkness for them, sharing her story to give hope and courage. Sometimes, late at night when the world was quiet and the house still, Alyssa would catch Ethan staring into the distance, his face thoughtful and distant. She knew the shadows of their past would always be with them. But she also knew they had the strength to face whatever came next, together. In the end, Alyssa realized that healing was not about forgetting or revenge. It was about choosing to live, to love, and to fight for a future where darkness would no longer have power over her. She had survived the storm, and now she was ready to create her own light. If you enjoy my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps my channel grow, and I will make more good videos for you.